Chief Immigration and Customs Enforcement, we've received a report about this location. We need to inspect your dispensing records and premises immediately.
You have a warrant?
We don't need a warrant for a federal regulatory inspection. I need you to open that filing cabinet and provide your dispensing logs now.
A warrantless inspection of a licensed pharmacy requires...
The Sunrise Pharmacy on Red Mesa Boulevard had been serving the Navajo community for 11 years when they walked in. Wednesday morning, 10:23 a.m., the kind of high desert air that carries the smell of sage and red clay, where the sky is so blue it almost hurts to look at and the silence between words carries its own weight. Rachel Running Water Begay had opened early that morning, the way she did every Wednesday, to receive the medication shipments that served the elderly residents of the surrounding reservation communities. 43 years old, wearing a burgundy sweater and her reading glasses pushed up on her forehead. Her long black hair pulled back with a turquoise clip her grandmother had given her. Nothing about her appearance said danger. Nothing said power. Nothing said that 3 federal agents were about to walk into the most expensive mistake of their careers. The white government SUV pulled into the parking lot at 10:21 a.m. The parking lot security camera mounted above the pharmacy entrance captured it all in high definition. 3 IC agents stepped out, vests on, badges visible, body cameras rolling. Lead Agent Paul Garrett moved like a man who had never been told no. Flanking him were Agents Diaz and Kowalski, both following Garrett's energy, both assuming this would be a routine sweep. They had received an anonymous tip about a pharmacy allegedly dispensing controlled substances to undocumented individuals. No warrant, no corroborating evidence. Just a tip and a Tuesday afternoon briefing that gave them enough confidence to walk through that door Wednesday morning like they owned the air inside it. What they did not know was that Rachel Running Water Begay had spent the previous 18 years as a federal public defender, then as a senior litigator at the New Mexico Civil Rights Division, and had been sworn in 14 days earlier as the district attorney for San Juan County. What they did not know was that she had prosecuted cases exactly like the one they were about to create. What they did not know was that every inch of her pharmacy was covered by a professional security system she had upgraded after a break-in 2 years prior, recording in 4K with audio. What they did not know was that they were about to be the most documented mistake in the history of the Albuquerque ICE field office. Before we continue, where are you watching from? If this is your first time here, you need to hit that subscribe button. Stories like this one don't get told unless we tell them. And your support means these videos reach the people who need to see what is really happening out here. Garrett pushed through the glass door first. The entry camera caught his face clearly, confident and scanning, the posture of someone running a practiced operation. Diaz and Kowalski followed, spreading slightly as they entered, the same containment habit their training had built into muscle memory. The pharmacy was quiet. 2 elderly Navajo women sat in the waiting area near the window. A man in his 70s stood at the pickup counter. Behind the pharmacy counter, Rachel was reviewing a shipping manifest, her reading glasses now on, a pen tucked behind her ear. Garrett walked directly to the pharmacy counter. Not to the front desk. Not to the customer service window. Straight to the restricted dispensing area, his badge already out. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Garrett's voice carried the particular bureaucratic flatness of someone going through motions rehearsed 1,000 times. We have a report that this pharmacy has been dispensing controlled substances to individuals who may not have lawful immigration status. We're conducting an inspection of your records and premises. Rachel set down her manifest slowly. She looked at Garrett over the top of her glasses with the measured calm of someone who has spent 2 decades in courtrooms where every word becomes evidence. Do you have a warrant? Her voice was quiet and even. Garrett's chin lifted slightly. We don't need a warrant for a regulatory inspection. We have authority under federal immigration enforcement operations to... She stopped him there. Not with volume. With precision. Officer, a regulatory inspection of a licensed pharmacy requires either a warrant issued by a federal judge, consent from the owner, or an established emergency exception under Camara v. Municipal Court. I am the owner. I am not consenting. And there is no emergency. So I will ask you again. Do you have a warrant? The waiting area had gone completely still. The elderly women had stopped moving. The man at the pickup counter had turned around. Garrett's jaw tightened. Ma'am, we have received credible intelligence that this location. I heard your intelligence claim, Rachel said, removing her glasses and setting them on the counter with a soft click. An anonymous tip is not probable cause. It does not establish reasonable suspicion of any crime I have committed. It does not authorize warrantless entry into a restricted pharmaceutical dispensing area. You are standing in a space governed by both the Fourth Amendment and DEA regulatory framework. Neither of those frameworks gives you the authority to inspect my records or my premises without a warrant. Kowalski shifted his weight. Diaz glanced toward the door briefly, then back. Garrett leaned forward, his hands gripping the counter edge. The security camera above the pharmacy workspace captured the gesture from overhead, showing the angle and force of his posture. Ma'am, if you're operating this pharmacy lawfully, you have nothing to hide. I need you to open your dispensing records and allow us to— I am not opening my records, Rachel said, her voice still even. I am not hiding anything. I am asserting my constitutional rights, which are not contingent on your comfort with them. The Fourth Amendment does not have a nothing to hide exception. No court has ever recognized one. What you're describing is an unconstitutional warrantless search of a licensed medical facility, and I am formally refusing consent. Should federal agents be allowed to search pharmacies without warrants based solely on anonymous tips? Comment below, because what happened next wasn't just about one pharmacy. It was about whether the Constitution applies equally when the person asserting it is a Native woman in a community that federal agencies have historically treated as having fewer rights than everyone else. Garrett straightened up and spoke to Diaz without taking his eyes off Rachel. Check the back. Diaz moved toward the gate that led behind the pharmacy counter. Rachel moved at the same moment, positioning herself at the gate, one hand resting on it from her side. Not aggressive, not threatening, just present. Officer, that area is restricted. Licensed pharmacy personnel only. You have no warrant. You have no consent. You have no exigent circumstances. If you open that gate, you are committing an illegal search and I will treat it as such. Diaz stopped. His camera recorded his own feet halting on the tile. Garrett walked around the counter toward the side entrance. I'm going to need to see your DEA registration and dispensing logs. They are visible on the wall behind me, Rachel said, not moving. My DEA registration number, my state pharmacy license, my board certifications. Everything you would need to verify this is a lawful operation is publicly displayed exactly as required by law. What you're asking for now goes beyond verification. You're asking for operational records that require a warrant to access. And you are not getting them today. She reached under the counter calmly and produced her phone. I'm recording this interaction, she announced clearly, her voice projecting through the small space. I am also notifying you that this pharmacy operates a professional security system with audio and video recording that has captured this entire encounter from the moment you entered. Garrett's eyes went to the ceiling. The cameras were clearly visible. He looked back at Rachel. She was already dialing. The dial tone lasted 4 seconds. Then a male voice answered, professional and immediate. This is Thomas Redhorse, San Juan County Sheriff's Department. Rachel, what do you need? Thomas, I have 3 ICE agents at my pharmacy. Lead Agent Garrett plus 2 others. They are attempting a warrantless search of my dispensing area and records based on an anonymous tip. No warrant has been presented. I have refused consent. They have not withdrawn. I need you here, and I need you to know that I am the district attorney for San Juan County, and these agents are attempting to conduct an illegal search of my place of business right now. The silence on Garrett's end of the counter was complete. Kowalski spoke for the first time, quietly, near Garrett's shoulder. Paul, she said DA. I heard her, Garrett replied, but his voice had lost its bureaucratic flatness. Something underneath it had shifted. I'll be there in 8 minutes, Sheriff Redhorse said through the phone. Don't let them touch anything. Rachel kept the phone active, speaker on, and looked at Garrett directly. You are welcome to wait for the sheriff. You are welcome to call your supervisor and request an emergency warrant application. You are welcome to leave and return with proper legal authority. What you are not welcome to do is continue standing in my restricted dispensing area without consent or legal authority. Because every second you remain here is a continued constitutional violation that is being recorded from multiple angles. Garrett made his decision then. The wrong one. The one that would cost the Department of Homeland Security $1.8 million. He reached past Rachel and pushed the gate open. The overhead pharmacy camera captured the moment from directly above. His arm extending, the gate swinging, Rachel stepping back, hands raised, deliberately, making herself small, non-threatening, giving the camera a clear view of everything. "I am not resisting," she said, loudly, clearly, projecting toward every camera she knew was recording. "I am not obstructing. I am documenting an illegal entry by federal agents into a restricted pharmaceutical dispensing area without a warrant, without consent, and without exigent circumstances. Agent Garrett, badge number visible on vest, has forced entry into this space. This is an unlawful search under the Fourth Amendment. I am Rachel Runningwater Begay. I am the District Attorney for San Juan County, New Mexico. The time is 10:31 a.m. This is being recorded." Diaz had stopped moving entirely. His body camera recorded his own stillness, his hands not reaching for anything, his feet not stepping forward. Kowalski had backed toward the main floor. His camera captured him watching from a distance, visibly separating himself from Garrett's decision. Garrett was behind the counter now, his own camera recording his hands as he reached toward the filing cabinet near the dispensing station. "Do not touch that cabinet," Rachel said, her voice dropping in register. "That cabinet contains controlled substance logs subject to DEA seal. If you open it without a warrant, you are not just violating the Fourth Amendment. You are potentially compromising a federal regulatory chain of custody. That is a separate federal crime. I am advising you of this clearly, and it is on record." Garrett's hand hovered over the cabinet handle. His body camera captured the moment of hesitation. His own equipment recording his own uncertainty. His radio crackled. "Garrett, this is Supervisor Chin. What is your status?" He reached for his radio. "On site at the pharmacy. Owner is uncooperative." "We're Garrett." Chen's voice cut through. "Did you say the owner is Rachel Begay?" "Affirmative." The pause lasted 4 seconds. Longer than it should have. "Stand down. Do not touch anything. Get out of that pharmacy right now and return to the vehicle. Do you understand me?" The overhead camera captured Garrett's hand withdrawing from the cabinet. The security system logged the timestamp. 10:33 a.m., 11 minutes since they had walked through the door. Sheriff Redhorse arrived at 10:38 a.m. He walked in to find the 3 agents in the parking lot and Rachel behind her counter, her phone still recording, 2 pages of notes already written on the back of a shipping manifest. "They forced entry into my dispensing area," she told him. "Garrett personally. Camera got all of it." Redhorse looked at the agents through the glass door, then back at her. "You already called a lawyer?" "I am a lawyer," she said. She picked up her phone. "But I'm calling one anyway." The attorney Rachel retained was Margaret Swiftwind, a civil rights litigator from the Native American Rights Fund with 22 years of experience in federal civil rights litigation and a record of arguing cases before the 10th Circuit. When Swiftwind reviewed the footage, all 6 camera angles plus the 3 agent body cameras obtained through FOIA, she described what she saw in one word: textbook. The complaint filed in United States District Court for the District of New Mexico was precise and comprehensive. Rachel Runningwater Begay versus United States of America, Agent Paul Garrett, Agent Daniel Diaz, Agent Stephen Kowalski, and the Department of Homeland Security. The allegations included warrantless search in violation of the Fourth Amendment, forced entry into a restricted area without legal authority, unlawful seizure of business operations, racial profiling and selective enforcement targeting a Native-owned business, deprivation of civil rights under color of law, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The evidence file ran to 340 pages. Every second of the 11-minute encounter documented from 6 angles. Audio capturing Rachel's repeated and legally precise assertions. Video showing Garrett's forced gate entry, his hand over the cabinet, his posture. Kowalski and Diaz's visible hesitation, their body language separating from Garrett's actions in real time. the supervisor's radio call, the withdrawal, all of it time-stamped, geotagged, unambiguous. The government's first settlement offer arrived 6 weeks after filing. $75,000. Swiftwind sent a single-paragraph response. Your agents conducted a warrantless forced entry into a licensed pharmacy owned by the district attorney of San Juan County, a woman who verbally cited case law to them in real time while being recorded on 6 cameras. $75,000 is not a settlement offer. It is an invitation to trial. They came back with $300,000. Still deeply insufficient, Swiftwind replied, and filed her trial brief the same afternoon. The trial opened 22 months after the pharmacy encounter. The federal courtroom in Albuquerque was standing room only every single day. Native rights organizations filled the gallery. Pharmacy professional associations sent representatives. Civil liberties groups from 4 states attended. Local and national media covered it as exactly what it was, a case that would define what the Fourth Amendment means for Native business owners in their own communities. The security footage played on the opening day of trial on a large courtroom monitor. All 6 angles simultaneously, synchronized by timestamp. The jury of 12 New Mexicans watched in complete silence as 3 federal agents walked into a pharmacy, were told clearly and repeatedly why their actions were unconstitutional, and proceeded anyway. When the footage reached the moment of Garrett forcing the gate, 3 jurors visibly reacted. One leaned forward. One shook her head slowly. One wrote something on her notepad and underlined it. Rachel testified for 6 hours across 2 days. She walked the jury through her credentials, her 18 years in federal law, her work defending clients against exactly this kind of constitutional overreach. She described what it meant to be a Native woman operating a business that served a community which had spent generations watching federal agencies treat their rights as optional. I cited Camara v. Municipal Court to them. She told the jury, her voice steady and clear. I cited the Fourth Amendment. I told them exactly, specifically, and accurately why what they were doing was unconstitutional. I gave them every opportunity to stop. And Agent Garrett forced that gate anyway, because he had decided that the law applied differently in my pharmacy than it would have anywhere else. The only variable was me. Swiftwind called Supervisor Chun as a witness. Under oath, Chun admitted that the stop had been initiated without a warrant, without probable cause, and that Garrett's entry into the restricted dispensing area had not been authorized by the agency's own operational guidelines. The decision to enter the restricted area was Agent Garrett's alone. Chun testified. It was not sanctioned. It was not legal. It should not have happened. The defense attempted to argue that the anonymous tip had created sufficient grounds for the inspection. Swiftwind addressed that argument in cross-examination with 3 questions. What was the specific information in the tip? Vague report of possible violations. Garrett admitted. Did you corroborate it before entering? No, he said. Did Rachel Begay give you consent to enter her restricted dispensing area? No. Then what was your legal basis for entering? Silence. The jury deliberated for 5 days. Rachel spent them at the pharmacy, filling prescriptions, serving her community, refusing to let the waiting rewrite what she knew about the law or about herself. The verdict came on a Thursday morning. The foreman, a retired high school principal named David Morales, stood to read it. We find in favor of the plaintiff on all counts. The courtroom erupted. Elders from the surrounding communities who had driven hours to attend stood up. Several wept. Rachel sat still for a long moment, her hands folded on the table, before she allowed herself to breathe. The damages phase lasted 9 days. The jury heard from a psychiatrist about the particular trauma of having your professional space violated. The specific weight carried by Native Americans when federal authority enters their spaces unlawfully, given the historical relationship between indigenous communities and federal enforcement agencies. They heard from Rachel's staff about customers who had not returned after seeing federal agents at the pharmacy, about elderly patients who had called asking whether it was safe to come in. They heard from an economist who had calculated the business losses, the reputational damage, the cost to a community that depended on this pharmacy as its primary medical services provider. They heard Rachel's own words, delivered without theatrics, in the same even register she had used the morning it happened. This pharmacy exists because this community needed it. I built it because the nearest alternative was 40 minutes away and my grandparents' neighbors couldn't drive 40 minutes. When those agents walked in, they didn't just violate my rights. They sent a message to every elder in this community that their pharmacist, their DA, their neighbor, could be searched like a suspect in her own building. That message has consequences I am still working to undo. When the jury returned with damages, the courtroom went completely silent. $800,000 in compensatory damages for lost business revenue, emotional distress, and reputational harm. $1 million in punitive damages, calculated to send a message to the Department of Homeland Security that warrantless forced entry into licensed medical facilities has a price. Total $1.8 million. Garrett was terminated within 30 days of the verdict. Diaz received a formal reprimand and was reassigned to administrative duties. Kowalski, whose body camera had documented his own hesitation and separation from Garrett's actions, received a written warning and mandatory retraining. Supervisor Chen was demoted 1 rank. The Albuquerque ICE field office, under direction from the Department of Justice, implemented mandatory Fourth Amendment training specific to licensed business searches, new written authorization requirements before any pharmacy inspection could be initiated, and a supervisory review protocol requiring warrant approval for any entry into restricted commercial areas. The agency's official statement described the changes as part of regularly scheduled policy reinforcement. It made no reference to Rachel running water Begay or to what their agents had done on a Wednesday morning on Red Mesa Boulevard. Rachel used a portion of her settlement to establish the Red Mesa Legal Defense Fund, providing free legal representation to Native business owners facing unconstitutional federal enforcement actions. She became a national voice on Fourth Amendment protections for indigenous communities, testifying before the Senate Judiciary Committee, speaking at law schools across the country, appearing at pharmacy professional conferences where her case had become required curriculum. The security camera above her pharmacy entrance still records in 4K. The dispensing area camera still captures every angle. Rachel never turned them off, never downgraded the system, never stopped paying the monitoring fee. She added 2 more cameras after the trial. Not out of fear. Out of the understanding she had always carried and that 11 minutes on a Wednesday morning had confirmed for a federal jury and for the record. Documentation is not paranoia. Documentation is power. And sometimes the most important thing you can do in the face of authority that has forgotten the law is to stand perfectly still, speak clearly, and make sure every word lands somewhere it cannot be erased. Because in a country where a district attorney can have her pharmacy searched without a warrant for the crime of being Native and running a business in her own community, the Constitution is only as strong as the people willing to hold it in their hands and refuse to let go. If you believe that the Fourth Amendment protects all Americans equally, that no badge gives anyone the right to search your space without a warrant, and that Native communities deserve the same constitutional protections as everyone else, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We have more stories coming that show what happens when people know their rights, hold the line, and make sure the cameras are rolling. Because justice doesn't always come easy. But when it comes, it should cost something worth remembering.